Vayera. This week's Torah portion opens with that word which means, and the Lord appeared. And it teaches us so much in this Torah portion. We learn about Sodom and Gomorrah, and we learn about the Akedah. But what I want to focus on initially is that two mitzvot are rooted in this Torah portion, both visiting the sick as well as hospitality or greeting our guests. And both of those mitzvot are rooted in the opening story of this Torah portion, where Abraham is sitting by the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day, recovering from his circumcision, when three strangers appear. They are really angels, but Abraham doesn't know that. And despite his compromised state, he jumps up to greet them. The rabbis teach us that the angels were modeling Bikor Cholim, visiting the sick, while Abraham, rushing to greet them, was modeling the mitzvah of hospitality. We then find the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then the centerpiece of the Torah portion is the story of the binding of Isaac, otherwise known as the Akedah, which is of such central importance that it is read not only this week, but also on Rosh Hashanah. The rabbis say that Abraham endured 10 trials in his life. He was asked to leave his home, then there was a famine. He had to endure circumcision at an advanced age. And then, of course, God asked him to sacrifice his firstborn. We're not sure which of these is the hardest for him. They seem to be escalating in difficulty. The Pirkei Avot, part of the Talmud, says, with 10 tests, Abraham, Avinu, Abraham, our father, was tested, and he withstood them all. Amad bekulam, withstood them all. But Rabbi Pamela Wax offers an alternative translation for Amad bekulam. What she says is not that he withstood them all, but rather that he stood up again after each one of these tests. Each of the trials knocked him for a loop, but Abraham was resilient. He stood up after each one. With 10 tests, our father Abraham was tested, and he stood up again after each one. The Talmud discusses what it means for us to be resilient. A reed that stands in a watery place sprouts shoots and has abundant roots. So even if all the winds in the world would come and blow against it, it would not shift from its place, but rather might sway to and fro with them. And then when the wind settles, the reed stands upright yet again in its place. Our rabbis have taught a person should always be soft like a reed and not hard like a cedar. This statement seems counterintuitive. We think of the cedar as being strong and tall, but the rabbis knew that true strength comes from the ability to be both grounded and flexible, like a reed. Life, as we know, is unpredictable. As the tensions of the election this week so clearly remind us, we never know what might be just around the corner. The way we keep ourselves strong and make ourselves resilient is with firm roots, meaning a good support system, a sense of purpose, as Abraham had, and the flexibility and faith to change course or dust ourselves off and begin again. May each of us be inspired in this challenging week by Abraham's resilience to move forward in our lives with trust and courage, no matter what trial or storm may await us. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.